The grand chamber floated in the space between stars, a massive structure built by the combined efforts of 127 civilizations. Inside, representatives from across the galaxy gathered for a meeting that happened only once every 100 years. The room was filled with beings of every shape imaginable. Some had scales, others had fur. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some walked on legs, others floated in containment fields. Ambassador Kelrick stood near the center of the chamber. His insect-like body reflected the soft blue light that filled the room. His 4 eyes scanned the circular arrangement of seats, each one representing a member species of the Galactic Concordat. His gaze stopped at one particular seat. It was empty. It had been empty for 50 years. "The humans," whispered Ambassador Talmy from beside him. She was from a water-dwelling species and spoke through a translation device. "They still have not come." Kelrix clicked his mandibles together, a sign of frustration in his species. 50 years since we extended the invitation. 50 years of silence. The meeting began with the usual formalities. Leaders discussed trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. The Concordat had brought peace to the galaxy for over 10,000 years. War was a thing of the ancient past, something that civilized species had evolved beyond. But as the meeting progressed, more and more speakers mentioned the empty seat. "It is an insult," declared Ambassador Praxis, his rocky form grinding as he spoke. "We evaluated the humans. We found them worthy. We offered them a place among the greatest civilizations in the galaxy, and they ignored us." "Perhaps they need more time," suggested another delegate. "They are a young species. Maybe they are not ready." Kelrix remembered the first contact with humanity. It had been his duty to lead the evaluation team. They had studied human culture, technology, and psychology for 3 years before making their decision. The humans had impressed them. They were clever, adaptable, and creative. They had survived countless challenges on their dangerous world, and had even begun to spread to other planets in their solar system. The evaluation committee had been unanimous. Humanity deserved a seat at the table. The human response had been polite but strange. Their leader had read the invitation carefully, smiled, and said, "We appreciate this honor. We will need to consider it carefully. Give us some time. That was 50 years ago. Since then, nothing. No acceptance. No rejection. No communication at all." Human ships occasionally appeared at the borders of Concordat space, trading quietly for resources and technology. They were always polite and always left quickly. They never asked about the council seat, and they never explained their silence. "I find it curious," said a voice that made everyone turn. It was Ambassador Velcera, one of the oldest beings in the Concordat. His species had been members for 9,000 years. His reptilian face showed deep thought. "We debate why they did not come, but perhaps we should ask ourselves a different question." "What question?" asked Kelrix. "Why did we want them to come?" Velcera's ancient eyes swept across the chamber. "I have read the evaluation reports. I have studied the humans carefully. They are not like us. They have never known lasting peace. Their entire history is war after war after war. Even now they remain divided into competing nations. They still point weapons at each other. That is why they need us," Praxis insisted. "We can teach them a better way. We can show them how to live in harmony." Velcera was quiet for a long moment. "Can we? Or did we invite a storm into our peaceful garden without understanding what we were doing?" The chamber fell silent. It was an uncomfortable thought. A junior diplomat from a bird-like species raised his wing. "I propose we send an expedition to Earth. We will go to them directly and demand an answer. They owe us at least that much." The idea spread through the chamber like fire. Yes, they agreed. It was time for answers. The humans could not simply ignore the greatest alliance in galactic history. Velcera voted against the motion, but he was alone. The expedition was approved with overwhelming support. As the meeting ended and delegates began to leave, Kelrix approached Velcera. "You seem worried, old friend." Velcera's tail moved slowly, a sign of deep concern in his body language. "I am. I have lived a long time, Kelrix. I remember the old stories from before the Concordat. Stories of when my people were young and foolish. Stories of war. Those days are long past. For us, yes," Velcera agreed. "We evolved beyond violence. We found a better path, but the humans," and he paused, "the humans are still on the old path, and they are walking it with intention." "What do you mean?" "I mean that when a species like ours stops fighting, It is because we have grown wise. But when a species like the humans continues to fight, continues to build weapons, continues to divide itself into competing factions. Velcera's eyes fixed on Kelrix. It means they know something we do not. Kelrix felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. You think they have a reason? I think we are about to find out. Velcera began walking toward the exit, and I am not certain we will like the answer. That night, Kelrix could not rest. He returned to his quarters and pulled up the human evaluation files on his data terminal. He read through them again, looking for something he had missed 50 years ago. The humans had been grateful for the contact. They had been excited to learn about other species. They had asked thousands of questions about the Concordat, about its history, about how it maintained peace. But they had also asked different questions. Strange questions. Questions about military capabilities. Questions about how the Concordat would respond to external threats. Questions about weapons technology and defense systems. At the time, Kelrix had thought these questions were just curiosity from a species that still struggled with violence. Now, reading them again, they felt different. They felt like the questions someone asks when they are preparing for something. Kelrix pulled up the star charts showing human space. It was small compared to Concordat territory, just one solar system, but the reports from trading ships told a different story. The humans were building constantly. Shipyards, factories, mining operations. They were extracting every resource from every planet, moon, and asteroid in their system. For what? The expedition would launch in 1 week. Kelrix had volunteered to join it. He needed to know the truth. He looked at the empty seat in the image of the council chamber on his screen. For 50 years they had wondered why humanity never took its seat. Soon they would have their answer. Kelrix only hoped they were ready to hear it. The diplomatic vessel Harmonious Accord was the finest ship the Concordat could offer. It had been built specifically for peaceful missions, with comfortable quarters for 20 different species and advanced communication systems designed to bridge any language barrier. It had no weapons. The Concordat had not built a warship in over 8,000 years. Ambassador Kelrix stood in the observation deck as the ship entered the outer edge of the solar system. 12 other ambassadors stood with him, representing different species from across the Concordat. They had traveled for 3 weeks to reach human space. We are approaching the boundary, announced Captain Thelnis from the bridge. Prepare for first contact with human vessels. Kelrix felt nervous, though he could not explain why. This was a diplomatic mission. They were here to talk, nothing more. Then the sensors began screaming alerts. Contact, shouted the sensor officer. Multiple contacts. Hundreds. No, thousands of objects surrounding us. The view screen lit up with red markers. They appeared from nowhere, as if they had been waiting invisibly in the dark. Automated defense platforms, each one the size of a small building, formed geometric patterns around their ship. The patterns extended in every direction, creating a sphere of weapons pointed inward at the Harmonious Accord. Defensive posture, Kelrix ordered, then realized how useless that sounded. They had no defenses. A voice filled the bridge. It was calm, polite, and completely emotionless. Unidentified vessel, you have entered quarantine space. State your purpose immediately. The voice was artificial, Kelrix realized. A machine intelligence. This is Ambassador Kelrix of the Galactic Concordat. We come in peace. We seek to speak with human representatives about your membership in the Council. Silence stretched for 30 seconds. It felt like an hour. Stand by for verification, the voice finally said. More silence. The weapon platforms did not move. They simply waited, perfectly still, perfectly aimed. Your credentials are verified, the voice said at last. You may proceed to Earth, however, you have been warned. Do not deviate from the provided flight path. Do not scan beyond authorized zones. Do not attempt to communicate with external networks. Violation of these rules will result in immediate destruction. Ambassador Talmy's translation device trembled. They threatened to destroy a diplomatic vessel? They are being cautious, Kelrix said, though he did not believe his own words. The Harmonious Accord began moving deeper into the solar system, following the exact path the AI had provided. As they traveled, the delegates watched the view screens in growing horror. The asteroid belt was gone. Not empty, but processed. Massive mining ships crawled across rocks, breaking them down to nothing. What had once been thousands of asteroids was now just dust and metal being fed into enormous factory ships. They are strip mining their entire asteroid belt, whispered Praxis. That level of resource extraction? What could they possibly need it for? The answer came as they passed Mars. Shipyards. Hundreds of them, floating in orbit around the red planet. And in those shipyards, ships were being built. Not small ships. Not trading vessels or exploration craft. Warships. Each one was massive, covered in armor plating and weapon ports. They were built in a style the Concordat had not seen in millennia, designed for one purpose only: violence. How many are there? Asked Talmy. The sensor officer checked his instruments. In Mars orbit alone, 473 ships in various stages of construction, and these are just the ones we can see. As they continued toward Earth, they passed more construction sites. Entire moons had been converted to manufacturing centers. Jupiter's moon Europa was covered in factories. Saturn's rings were being harvested for materials. Titan had become a massive fuel refinery. But it was the sun that made Kelrix feel truly afraid. A Dyson swarm was under construction. Thousands of solar collectors orbited the star, gathering its energy. It was only perhaps 10% complete, but when finished it would capture a significant portion of the sun's total energy output. This is impossible, Praxis said. To build this much, this fast, they would need to dedicate their entire civilization to it. Everything. Every person, every resource, every moment of time. They have, said Velcera quietly. The old ambassador had been silent for most of the journey, but now he spoke. Look at Earth. The blue planet appeared on the screen. From orbit it looked peaceful, but the sensor readings told a different story. Power signatures covered the entire surface. Launch facilities on every continent. Massive construction projects in every ocean. The planet was not at peace. It was a factory working at full capacity. There, said the sensor officer, pointing to a signal coming from beyond the system's edge. I am picking up something strange. Quantum signatures very faint coming from the dark space between stars. What is it? Kelrix asked. I cannot tell. The readings are wrong, too large. It is as if they are building something out there, but the scale does not make sense. The AI voice returned. You are ordered to ignore those readings. Focus on your approach to Earth. A docking platform has been prepared for you. Kelrix wanted to ask more questions, but the tone of the AI made it clear that curiosity was not welcome here. They docked at a small orbital platform. It was functional but not decorative. Everything about it suggested efficiency over comfort. A human woman waited for them in the docking bay wearing a simple uniform. Welcome to Earth, she said, her translator device rendering her words into multiple languages simultaneously. I am Dr. Sarah Chen, External Relations Observer. Please follow me. Observer? Asked Kelrix. Not ambassador? We do not have ambassadors, Dr. Chen said simply. We are not members of the Concordat. She led them through the station. The walls were covered in display screens showing information. Production quotas, ship construction schedules, research development timelines. Everything moved at a frantic pace. They passed a window that looked down at Earth. Kelrix saw a massive ship launching from the surface, its engines burning bright as it fought against gravity. That is a Titan-class warship, Dr. Chen said, noticing his gaze. We launch 3 per week. 3 per week? Talmy's voice was shocked. Why do you need so many warships? Dr. Chen stopped walking and turned to face them. Her expression was neutral, but her eyes were tired. Very tired. That, she said, is why you are here. You want to know why we never took our seat at the council. You want to know what we are doing. You want to know why we build weapons when you have offered us peace. Yes, Kelrix said. We want to understand. Dr. Chen nodded slowly. Then follow me to the briefing room. But I must warn you, once you know the truth, you cannot unknow it. Once we show you what we have seen, your civilization will never be the same. She turned and continued walking down the corridor. The delegates looked at each other. Fear passed between them like a current, but they followed. They had come too far to turn back now. Behind them, through the window, another warship launched from Earth. Then another. Then another. The construction never stopped. The briefing room was small and cold. Dr. Sarah Chen sat across from the delegates at a simple metal table. No decorations hung on the walls. No comfortable furniture filled the space. Everything was functional, designed only to serve a purpose. Before we begin, Dr. Chen said, I need to make something clear. I am not an ambassador because humanity has no ambassadors. I am an observer. I observe your Concordat and I report what I learn to my government. Nothing more. Kelrix leaned forward. Why the distinction? Because ambassadors represent nations that want to be part of something larger. We do not. She folded her hands on the table. Now ask your question. The real question. The one you traveled all this way to ask. Ambassador Praxis spoke first, his rocky voice grinding with frustration. Why have you not taken your seat on the council? We offered you a place among the greatest civilizations in the galaxy. We offered you peace, knowledge, and friendship. Yet you ignored us for 50 years. Why? Dr. Chen met his gaze without blinking. Because we cannot accept. Silence filled the room. Cannot? Talmi's translator device trembled. You mean you will not? No, I mean cannot. Dr. Chen stood and walked to a wall panel. She pressed a button and a display screen came to life. It showed images of Earth's history, ancient wars, medieval battles, modern conflicts. When your evaluation team came to Earth 50 years ago, you studied us carefully. You saw a species that had survived countless challenges. You saw our technology, our culture, our potential, and you judged us worthy. Yes, Kelrix said. We did. But you misunderstood something fundamental about humanity. The images on the screen continued to change, showing the evolution of human weapons through the ages. Swords to guns to missiles to spacecraft. You saw a peaceful species that occasionally goes to war. That is not what we are. She turned to face them. We are a warlike species that occasionally finds peace. The distinction hung in the air like a blade. I do not understand, said Velcera, though his ancient eyes suggested he understood perfectly. Dr. Chen pulled up new data on the screen. Charts and graphs showing human technological progress over centuries. Look at these timelines. Every major leap in human technology, every significant advancement, every breakthrough that changed our civilization, they all came during or immediately after periods of conflict. Kelrix studied the data. She was right. The patterns were clear. War drives us, Dr. Chen continued. Competition drives us. The fear that someone else might surpass us, might defeat us, might take what we have. That fear pushes us forward. It makes us smarter, faster, stronger. That is barbaric, Praxis said. Yes, Dr. Chen agreed without hesitation. It is, but it is also who we are. Remove the conflict and we grow comfortable. We grow lazy. We stop pushing. We stop improving. She pulled up images of the Concordat species, their peaceful worlds and ancient civilizations. You have had peace for 10,000 years. Your technology has barely changed in that time. You have no need to improve your weapons because you have no enemies. You have no need to build faster ships because you are not racing anyone. You have no need to push the boundaries of physics because you are content with what you have. The delegates shifted uncomfortably. The truth hurt. 50 years ago, when you offered us a seat on your council, we were honored, Dr. Chen said. Truly, but we also knew what accepting would mean. It would mean uniting, all of humanity under one government, one purpose, one voice in your Concordat. Unity is strength, said Talmi. For you, perhaps. For us, it would be death. Dr. Chen's voice was soft but firm. If humanity united completely, if we stopped competing with each other, if we laid down our weapons and embraced your peace, we would stagnate. Within a generation, maybe two, we would become like you. Content, peaceful, unchanging. She looked at each delegate in turn. We cannot afford that. Why not? Kelrix asked, though a cold feeling was growing in his chest. He already knew there was more to this story. Dr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. She seemed to be deciding something. Finally, she spoke. Because of what we found, she pressed another button. The screen changed to show deep space telescope images. Stars and galaxies normal at first glance. Then the images shifted to show older data. Images from decades and centuries past. These are 3 galaxies beyond the rim of the Milky Way, Dr. Chen explained. This is what they looked like 1,000 years ago. The images showed vibrant spiral galaxies full of stars and light. And this is what they look like now. The new images showed darkness. Not empty space, but something worse. It was as if the galaxies had been erased. No stars. No light, nothing. What happened to them? Whispered Talmi. Something consumed them, Dr. Chen said. We do not know what it is. We call it the silence because that is what it leaves behind. Dead space. No signals. No radiation, nothing. She pulled up more images showing the path of destruction. 3 galaxies all in a line, all consumed over the course of thousands of years. And it is moving toward us. The room felt colder. We detected the silence shortly after your first contact with us, Dr. Chen continued. Our deep space telescopes were new at the time, powerful enough to see farther than we had ever seen before. We pointed them at distant galaxies and found this. More images appeared. Computer models showing the path and speed of the silence. Our best calculations suggest it will reach the Milky Way in 800 to 1,200 years. No, Praxis said, shaking his head. This is impossible. We would have detected this. We have instruments across the entire galaxy. You have instruments designed to look inward, Dr. Chen said. You watch your own territory, your own systems, your own species. Why would you look outward? You have been at peace for 10,000 years. You have forgotten to watch for threats. Velcera's old voice was sad. We have grown complacent. Yes, Dr. Chen said gently. You have, and there is nothing wrong with that. You evolved beyond violence. You found a better way. You should be proud. But, Kelrix prompted. But the universe does not care about your evolution, Dr. Chen said. The silence does not care that you are peaceful. It does not negotiate. It does not trade. It simply consumes. She pulled up military assessments, simulations of battles. We have run the numbers 1,000 times. We have modeled every scenario. The Concordat as it exists now could not stand against the silence. Your ships are designed for exploration and trade, not war. Your weapons are thousands of years out of date. Your people have no experience with large-scale conflict. The simulations played on the screen. They all ended the same way. Concordat defeat total and complete. How long? Velcera asked. In your simulations, how long does the Concordat survive? Dr. Chen's expression was pained. Less than 10 years. The silence that followed was absolute. So you made a choice, Kelrix said slowly, understanding dawning. You chose to stay out of the Concordat. You chose to remain divided. We chose to stay sharp, Dr. Chen corrected. Every ship we build to beat our rival ships. Every weapon we design is meant to counter our enemy's weapons. The European Union pushes forward, so the Asian alliance must push harder. The American Federation develops new technology, so the African coalition must develop something better. We push each other constantly because we cannot afford to stop. You deliberately maintain conflict, Telmi said, horrified. Controlled conflict, Dr. Chen emphasized. We do not have wars anymore. Not real ones, but we maintain competition. Rivalry, the drive to be better than each other. And that drive keeps us evolving. She looked at them with tired eyes. We stayed out of your council because we knew the truth. The silence is coming, and when it arrives, the galaxy will need someone who remembers how to fight. Dr. Sarah Chen led the delegates down a long corridor. No one spoke. The weight of what they had learned pressed down on them like a physical force. The silence. A threat beyond anything the Concordat had faced in 10,000 years of peace. They arrived at an observation deck deep inside the orbital station. The room was dark except for a massive view screen that covered an entire wall. Dr. Chen pressed a control panel, and the screen came to life. What you saw in the briefing room was just the beginning, she said quietly. There is more. Much more. And you deserve to see all of it before you return to your council. The screen showed deep space images, but these were different from before. They were recent, taken by human telescopes over the past 50 years. The images showed the edge of the galaxy, the dark space beyond where stars gave way to the void between galaxies. We have been watching the silence carefully since we discovered it, Dr. Chen explained. We have dedicated significant resources to understanding what it is and how it moves. Kelrix moved closer to the screen. The images showed something disturbing. At the edge of one of the consumed galaxies there was movement. Not light, but the absence of it, spreading like ink through water. It is not just destroying the galaxies, Dr. Chen said. It is consuming them. Matter, energy, everything. It leaves nothing behind. Ambassador Velcera studied the images with his ancient eyes. How does it move? What propels it? We do not know, Dr. Chen admitted. It does not follow normal physics. It does not travel through space in any way we understand. It simply expands, like a wave of non-existence washing over reality. She pulled up more data. charts showing the speed and direction of the silence. Based on our observations, we believe it consumed the first galaxy approximately 8,000 years ago. The second galaxy fell 4,000 years ago. The third galaxy is dying now as we speak. The pattern is clear. It is accelerating. And it is coming here. Talmy whispered. Yes. Dr. Chen changed the display to show the Milky Way galaxy. A red line appeared, showing the projected path of the silence. Our calculations give us between 800 and 1,200 years before it reaches the outer edge of our galaxy. Once it begins, based on the speed we have observed, it will consume the entire Milky Way in less than 200 years. The room fell silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Praxis finally spoke, his rocky voice rough. Why did you not tell us? 50 years ago when you discovered this, why did you not warn the Concordat? Dr. Chen turned to face him. Her expression was pained. Because we knew what would happen if we did. What do you mean? Think about it, she said. Imagine we had come to your council 50 years ago. Imagine we had shown you these images, these calculations. What would you have done? Kelrix thought about it. We would have mobilized, united all species, begun preparing defenses. Exactly, Dr. Chen said. And you would have failed. You cannot know that, Praxis protested. We can. We did know it. Dr. Chen pulled up more data on the screen. Human, military assessments, detailed analyses of Concordat capabilities. We studied your civilizations carefully, your technology, your military structures, your cultural attitudes toward conflict. We ran thousands of simulations. The screen showed the results. Over and over the same outcome, Concordat defeat. Your species evolved beyond large-scale warfare thousands of years ago, Dr. Chen explained. You are peaceful, cooperative, focused on art and science and philosophy. These are beautiful qualities. They represent the best of what intelligent life can become. But, Kelrix asked, but they also make you vulnerable. Your military technology has not significantly improved in 10,000 years because you had no reason to improve it. Your ships are slow by military standards, designed for comfort and efficiency rather than combat. Your weapons are outdated. Your tactics are ancient. And most importantly, your people have no experience with total war. She looked at each delegate in turn. If we had told you about the silence, you would have tried to prepare. You would have started building weapons and training soldiers, but you would be starting from thousands of years behind. You would be trying to develop in decades what humanity has refined over millennia. And you would fail, because your entire civilization is not built for war. Ours never stopped being built for it. Velcera's tail moved slowly, a sign of deep sadness. So you made the choice for us. You decided to bear this burden alone. Not alone, Dr. Chen corrected. We made a different choice. We chose to prepare in a way that would actually work. She pulled up new images. These showed the human solar system, but with more detail than before. The massive construction projects they had seen on their approach were marked and labeled. For 50 years, humanity has been preparing for the silence. Every ship, every weapon, every technological advance has been made with this goal in mind. We have been racing against time, pushing ourselves to the absolute limit of what we can achieve. The images showed the scale of the effort. Entire planets converted to military production. Moons hollowed out to become shipyards. The Dyson swarm slowly capturing more and more of the sun's energy to power the construction. But more importantly, Dr. Chen continued, we have maintained our edge. We stayed divided. We stayed competitive. We stayed dangerous. She pulled up images of human nations, their flags and symbols. The European Union and the Asian Alliance are developing different approaches to faster-than-light travel. Each one wants to prove their method is superior. The American Federation and the African Coalition are in a race to create more powerful weapons. Each breakthrough by one side pushes the other side to develop something better. The tension, the rivalry, the competition, it keeps us evolving. But you are one species, Talmy said. Surely you could unite and still maintain progress. No, Dr. Chen said firmly. History has proven otherwise. Every time humanity has come close to unity, every time we have had extended periods of peace, our progress slows. We grow comfortable. We stop pushing. It is our nature. She looked at the view screen at the images of the silence-consuming galaxies. We wish we could be like you. We wish we could evolve beyond conflict and violence. We wish we could join your peaceful Concordat and live in harmony. But we cannot. Not now. Not with this threat looming. Kelrix felt a question forming, one that he was almost afraid to ask. When the silence comes, what is your plan? Dr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft but determined. We will be ready. She pulled up new images, showing something the delegates had not seen before. Far beyond the solar system, in the dark space between stars, massive structures were under construction. They were enormous, dwarfing even the largest Concordat stations. These are forward operating bases, Dr. Chen explained. We are building them in secret, far from any inhabited system. When the silence reaches the galaxy, these bases will be our first line of defense. They are equipped with weapons we have spent 50 years developing. Weapons designed specifically to fight something that does not follow normal physics. More images appeared. Fleets of warships, thousands upon thousands of them, all built to a scale and with a focus that the peaceful Concordat had forgotten was possible. We have 800 years to prepare, Dr. Chen said. Maybe more, maybe less, but we will use every single day. We will build. We will improve. We will push ourselves to the absolute limit of what humanity can achieve. She turned to face the delegates, and for the first time, they saw the full weight of the burden she carried. You wanted to know why we did not take our seat at your council. Now you understand. We cannot join you because we must remain what we are. We must stay fractured, competitive, and dangerous. We must maintain the one thing that makes humanity unique among all the peaceful species of the galaxy. What is that? Asked Velcera. Dr. Chen's eyes were hard as steel. We remember how to wage war, and when the silence comes, the galaxy will need someone who can stand against it, someone who has not forgotten how to fight, someone who is willing to do violence on behalf of those who no longer can. She looked back at the screen at the images of the approaching darkness. We will be ready, and when the time comes, we will stand between the silence and the rest of the galaxy, not because you asked us to, not because you offered us a seat at your table, but because it needs to be done. And we are the only ones who can do it. The observation deck fell silent. Outside the window, another warship launched from Earth, its engines burning bright against the darkness of space. The preparation continued. It would not stop for 800 years. The journey back to the Concordat took 3 weeks. The delegates spent most of that time in silence, each processing what they had learned in their own way. The empty diplomatic vessel felt even emptier now, haunted by the knowledge they carried. Ambassador Kelrix stood in his quarters, staring at the star charts on his display screen. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of the galaxy, the silence was coming, moving slowly but inevitably toward everything they knew and loved. And the only species preparing to face it was humanity, a species the Concordat had once judged and invited to join them, a species that had declined because accepting would have destroyed their ability to help. There was a chime at his door. Velcera entered without waiting for permission, his ancient body moving slowly. We arrive at the council chamber tomorrow, the old ambassador said. We must decide what to tell them. The truth, Kelrix said immediately. We tell them everything, do we? Velcera settled into a chair designed for his species. Think carefully, my friend. If we tell the council about the silence, what happens? Kelrix turned from the display. They prepare. They mobilize. They begin building defenses. And in doing so, they panic. They disrupt. They waste resources on preparations they are not equipped to make. Velcera's eyes were sad but wise. Dr. Chen was right. We are not built for war anymore. We have not been for thousands of years. If we try to become warriors again, we will fail. We will spend 800 years building weapons that will not work and training soldiers who will not be ready. So we do nothing? Kelrix felt anger rising in his chest. We just accept that the silence is coming and hope the humans can stop it. No, Velcera said firmly. We do something much harder. We trust them, and we help them in ways they cannot help themselves. The next day, the delegates gathered in a private chamber before the full council meeting. They had all agreed to meet first, to decide together what to say. We must tell them, Praxis insisted, his rocky form grinding with agitation. The council deserves to know that their entire civilization is under threat. And cause galaxy-wide panic? Talmy countered. Our people are not ready for this knowledge. It will destroy the peace we have built. Peace built on ignorance is not true peace, Praxis argued. Ambassador Kelrix raised his hand for silence. Dr. Chen gave us a choice. She showed us the truth, knowing we might reveal it to everyone. But she also trusted us to make the right decision. What is the right decision? Asked one of the younger delegates. Velcera spoke, his voice carrying the weight of his 9,000 years. My species has an old saying, when a village sleeps peacefully, it is because someone stands guard in the darkness. The villagers do not need to know every threat that passes in the night. They need only to know that the guard is vigilant. He looked around the room. Humanity has taken up that guard position. They have chosen to stand in the darkness so that we can continue to live in the light. The question is not whether to tell the council about the threat. The question is whether we honor humanity's choice or undermine it. Silence filled the chamber as the delegates absorbed his words. I propose a compromise, Kelrix said finally. We seal the records of our expedition. We classify everything we learned about the silence. As far as the official record shows, humanity simply declined our invitation politely, and we respect their choice. And in private? Talmy asked. In private, we help them, quietly, carefully. We provide resources, materials, technology, things they can use to prepare. We do not tell them why, and we do not tell anyone else what we are doing. But we support them in every way we can. Praxis was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. It goes against everything I believe about transparency and truth. But I see the wisdom in it, very well. I agree. One by one, the other delegates nodded their agreement. When the full council convened, Ambassador Kelrix delivered his report. It was brief and carefully worded. We traveled to Earth and met with human representatives. They confirmed that humanity has chosen not to accept membership in the Concordat at this time. They were polite and grateful for the invitation, but they believe their civilization is not yet ready for such an honor. We recommend that we respect their decision and revisit the question in another century. There were some grumbles from the council, some expressions of disappointment. But no one questioned the report. Why would they? The Concordat had existed for 10,000 years in peace. They had no reason to suspect there were threats lurking beyond their borders. The motion passed. The human seat would remain empty, officially because humanity had respectfully declined. But after the meeting, in private chambers and quiet conversations, something else began to happen. Resources started flowing toward human space. Trade agreements that favored humanity appeared. Research partnerships formed. Technology transfers were approved with unusual speed. The Concordat did not know why this was happening. But a small group of ambassadors worked tirelessly to ensure the support continued. Humanity never asked about the sudden generosity. They simply accepted it and used it to build faster, to prepare more thoroughly. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck of the orbital station, watching ships launch from Earth. The stream of vessels had increased since the Concordat delegation left. More materials were arriving. Better materials. The construction pace had accelerated. A message appeared on her datapad. It was encrypted from an anonymous source in Concordat space, but she recognized the encryption pattern. Kelrix. The message was simple. We understand. We will help however we can. May you succeed where we could not. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The ambassadors had made the right choice. They had chosen to trust humanity with the burden rather than trying to share it. She pulled up the deep space images on her screen, the ones showing the silence. It had spread further in the past weeks, consuming more of the third galaxy. The darkness was growing. A colleague entered the observation deck. Commander Marcus Webb, head of the Solar Defense Fleet. He looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. Do you think they understood? He asked, standing beside her. The delegates? Yes, they understood that we cannot join them. They understood why we stay divided, why we build weapons, why we push ourselves so hard. And the council? The council will sleep peacefully, not knowing what approaches. Just as we intended. Webb was quiet for a moment, watching another ship launch. 800 years, he said softly. We have 800 years to prepare for something that destroyed 3 galaxies. Do you think we can do it? Chen thought about the question carefully. 800 years seemed like a long time, but it was nothing against the scale of what they faced. The silence had consumed entire galaxies. What could one species, even a warlike species like humanity, do against that? But then she thought about human history, about how humanity had survived ice ages and plagues and disasters, about how they had gone from stone tools to spacecraft in just a few thousand years, about how they had never ever given up, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. I do not know if we can win, she said honestly, but I know we will try. And that is more than anyone else in the galaxy can say. Webb nodded slowly. I sometimes wonder what the council thinks when they look at their empty chair. Do they wonder why we never came? Do they think we are too proud? Too primitive? Chen smiled slightly. Let them wonder. Let them think what they want. We know the truth. We did not refuse their seat because we thought we were above them. We refused it because we knew what was coming. She looked at the images of the silence on her screen. They wanted us to take our seat at the table. They never realized that we already took our place. Not at the table. At the door. Far beyond the solar system, in the dark spaces between stars where no one was watching, the massive forward operating bases continued to take shape. Each one was a fortress, armed with weapons that pushed the boundaries of physics. Around them fleets gathered. Warships built by competing human nations, each trying to outdo the others, each pushing the limits of what was possible. It was humanity's nature. To compete, to fight, to push, to never accept defeat. And in 800 years, when the silence reached the Milky Way, it would find something waiting for it. Something it had not encountered in the previous 3 galaxies. It would find humanity. Not united, not peaceful, not evolved beyond violence, but ready to stand between the darkness and the light, ready to fight a war that the peaceful species of the galaxy could not even imagine, ready to do what needed to be done no matter the cost. The Council had offered humanity a seat at the most prestigious table in the galaxy. And humanity had declined, not out of pride or fear, but out of duty. Someone had to stand guard in the darkness. Someone had to remember how to fight. Someone had to be willing to face the horrors that approached so that others could continue to live in peace. Humanity had accepted that burden willingly, and they would carry it for the next 800 years, preparing for the day when the silence arrived. On that day, the peaceful species of the Concordat would finally understand why humanity never took its seat. They would understand that humanity had taken something far more important,